Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Annassa. I think I'm in a lot better shape this morning, so let's see what happens. So, can you hear me okay? Good. Let's start with meditation. So, take your attention inside. So, Annassa is surrounding you. Your own guides and angels are surrounding you. And everyone whom you have loved and who has loved you throughout your many lifetimes has gathered around you to support your quest for inner freedom. So as you begin to breathe, you breathe in the golden light of all the loving ones, teachers, and guides that are connected to you. And there are many. Everyone on this call has had many, many lifetimes. So you breathe in this golden white light and you breathe out anything that separates you from the highest understanding, the highest feelings, the highest connection to divinity. So you breathe in golden light and you breathe out any kind of obstruction. And as you do this, you visualize every cell in your body becoming available to this beautiful golden white light. So any pathologies in your body, we use that word very loosely, anything that is restricting your access to your own divinity, allow it to release in these moments on your out breath as you pull in this beautiful golden light on your in breath. You may actually feel yourself getting lighter, unweighting all of these negative impressions have weight that holds us down. As we let them go, we become light. In every sense of the word. So feel that lightness through your body, feel all the way into the tips of your toes, all the way into the ends of your fingertips. Inhabit your body with this beautiful golden white light. Now visualize a being the size of your thumb in the middle of your heart chakra, in the middle of your chest. This being is sitting on a lotus flower and it's completely evolved in complete union with divinity, or whatever language works for you, in complete union with the highest purpose for a human being. This is the embodiment of love in you. So you nourish this being with your attention. Where we put our attention is what grows within us. So attention is nourishment. So you hold your attention on this tiny being and allow it to grow bigger until it fills your chest and gradually begins to fill your entire being. With each in-breath, it gets bigger. Until your entire body is occupied by this completely evolved being. That is you. And now you allow yourself to expand to completely encompass the room that you are sitting in. And now you expand to encompass the entire city that you live in. And you can feel all the beings as waves of sensation that just pass through. Allow it all to pass. And now allow yourself to expand bigger, to encompass the entire earth. All of the earth is within you. And now expand to encompass the solar system. And now the galaxy. And then the universe. And the vastness of the multiverse. All of that is within your awareness. all of the all that is within you. Always has been and always will be. Gently allow yourself to come back to the universe. And then the galaxy. The solar system. And back to encompassing the earth. Come down to your city. And stop when you get to the room where you're sitting. And look down at the being that began this meditation. Feel the vastness of the love that you have to offer. And you gently reach out your hand and put it on the top of the head of the person you are, and you pour love into that being, understanding that this is love, loving itself. This is the essence of our purpose. In any incarnation. And now you come back into that being of pure love and light. As you feel ready, and there's no need to rush, gently bring your attention back. We're excited to take your questions today. Really happy to be with you. The illness has passed. And we will say this about it, it had a lot of qualities of purging that many old patterns were released. Part of getting this new meditation, this new perspective, and just outdated matrices of belief were dropping away. Sometimes, it takes an illness to get you quiet enough to have that happen. So we're a little bit quiet today. We'll need your questions to get us going. Yes, Wally.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well.
Oh, good.
My question is about the energy working, absorbing the energies that a practice like the one you just gave us brings. And I'm very drawn to practices like that, and I've done a lot of them. And my experience is that I get overstimulated. I feel overstimulated. I feel like the energy is sort of rocketing around, sort of ricocheting inside me. And that seems to produce a lot of unpleasant or, troublesome physical symptoms. And so I wonder if it's as simple as the fact that the energy isn't passing through me and going out. Maybe it's getting stuck.
Well, it's a little bit bigger than that, Wally. What we're seeing is that how do we say this? You have the capacity for a very big life. And so because your outer life is not as big as your capacity, you feel stuck a lot. And so that flow needs to expand into interaction, a bigger field of flow. So the reason it feels like it's all stuck in a small space is because it is. You're not inhabiting the life you've been given. This is not to say that there's anything wrong, because when we feel like there's something wrong, we immediately get even smaller. And so this is not what it's about. What it's about is riding the wave of this energy into the expanded life that's trying to happen for you. And so that means that you have to challenge the habits of no in your interaction with the outer world. And understand that whatever is coming to you and pulling you from the outer world is actually a gift of participation in your own evolution. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
So we're going to encourage you to listen to this recording again, because this may be hard to take in one sitting, because it's a fairly dramatic shift in your view of yourself that we are asking you to entertain. And that shift is that you, in your participation, will discover your qualities and talents that have been latent. This is a self-fulfilling cycle that you're in, where the overstimulation feels like a bad thing, so you go smaller. Whereas the overstimulation is actually, you have too much energy for what your life can hold, the external life that you've built. And so it's really important for you to build a bigger external life. So where does the vision for that come from? That's the next question. And that is, you just flow with the opportunities that present themselves, and understand that the way you have been programmed, and it's not your fault, this is matrix of belief, the way you have been programmed is to automatically say no first. And so whenever you find yourself saying no, it's very important that you just change it to a yes. And you can decide to do that, decide to do a trial of that for a month, even a week, even a day. You just do the opposite of what that no is, so that you begin to expand your field of interaction with other human beings and your outer world, so that this sense of overstimulation, it is like there's too much energy, but there's too much energy to be contained, and getting smaller, you've tried that. So you know that doesn't work. So it's time to try something different. And life is trying to provide you the opportunities to make that different happen. Life is constantly doing that. So we want you to, for a time, just say yes, even though you want to say no. And see what begins to happen as you expand your inner practice and expand your outer life, and see if that energy doesn't start to flow more in a way that is articulating what your next engagement is in this life. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So this is your practice, is to say yes whenever you want to say no to engagement in the outer world. And you can set up whatever time frame feels doable to you. It's okay if you just do it once in a day. But you have to set some time where you're doing it. And you have to be committed. This will take all the discipline you have ever cultivated in your life, because you won't want to do it, because this pattern has been there for a very, very long time. And it's got a whole belief system with it. You know, if I don't do this, then I can't do that. There's a lot of that in your, how do we describe it? There's a lot of resistance in you to mobilizing this energy to actualize it in your life. And really, your life has been set up with enough ease so that you can expand as the opportunities come. So think of the inner expansion as the bringing in of the new energy to support what's trying to happen. And you have to, as you say yes to the bigger energy, you say yes to the bigger life in the outer world. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So we want you to stay close, even if you just come on Sundays, stay close so that we can continue this conversation, because your tendency will be to want to disappear for a very long time because you won't feel like you're doing it right. Right?
Yes.
You can't do it wrong. So let that go. There is none of that. So the reason we're telling you to stay close is to, try to mitigate that before it happens. Because these are patterns that you want to change. This is what your evolution is about. And it's really up for you. It's really, really a time to face these patterns and say yes to a bigger life instead of no. And understand that that bigger life is going to be much more fulfilling, but also challenging. But the challenge, instead of being, all this energy that can't go anywhere, the challenge will be to rise to the occasion and express the energy in the fundamental world outside yourself. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes.
Can you see how the energy that feels stuck in the physical actually needs to be expressed in the physical outside you? And that when that flow mobilizes, then this whole flowing thing becomes available in a much bigger scale. So we're inviting you to a bigger life. And you get to choose. Always you get to choose. And so we're asking you to do something very hard. We know that. And so we're willing to stand by you while you do this. That's why we're inviting you to stay close as well, because we know it's really hard. We're not going to sugarcoat that. But it's the most glorious transformation you can imagine, inviting you. Got it?
Just to clarify, it's what presents itself in my life that I'm saying yes to.
Well, the reason we're hesitating is because the pattern of saying no will lead you to say, well, it couldn't be this. Do you understand?
Yes.
And so the answer is yes, but it's going to look like the same thing that it's looked like before in some ways. Does that make sense? And that's why it's really tricky and really hard at this particular junction, because what we're trying to do is get you out of a pattern of a matrix of belief that has been there for a very long time. So whatever it is that you want to say no to, look at that no very carefully. Because it may be an old invitation or it may look like an old invitation that keeps coming back, that is actually the key to beginning to unlock that expansion. So we're saying concentrate on the flow. Wherever it feels blocked in going outward, go in that direction. That's the opposite of what you've been trained to do. Say somebody invites you to a party. You go because you might meet the person who's going to change your life. it's like that. You just never know what life is bringing. And some of the no's that you've inculcated into your life need to be turned to yeses. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And you can't do it wrong. You know, we're almost reduced to trial and error. Not entirely. I mean, but you have a big opportunity. And yes, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. How may we serve further? Anything, Brenda? Feels so good to be with you. Drew, how's it going out there?
Speak.
Rebecca,
Yes.
this is Pam.
Hello, Pam.
Hi. So unfortunately, your response to Wally and Wally's response to you was frozen, but it seemed to have a lot to do with what I'm facing right now, saying yes to something big. My mom is 101. It has dementia, is going blind and deaf, and she really wants to live with us for the rest of her time. On the one hand, I feel that it might be a really great opportunity for me to open to a whole other universe. The dying process, being with her during the dying process. On the other hand, I feel also hindered, like I'm not really up to that at this point in my life. But there is a big part of me that wants to say yes to this, even though it seems huge to be with her while she's passing away.
Well, the biggest question is, do you have a physical setting with enough support built into it that it's a realistic endeavor to have her in your space?
We have been trying to make it possible. We live on a farm. It seems very dangerous. We would have to keep her from wandering. Also, I am the one that is taking care of things. My husband is not totally well and up to it, and we live far out of town. So the answer is not really.
So here's what we suggest. There's probably a place in your town that is geared to physically support your mother, because we think that physically having her in your environment is too much. But we do recognize that it's very important for you to be at her side as she goes through this process. So you need to bring her closer, but you need not take physical responsibility. Does that make sense to you?
The
Internet.
internet connection went out while you were telling me, right after there might be a place in town.
Okay, so there might be another physical space close to you where she can stay and be safe, where they are geared to treating Alzheimer's patients and keeping them safe. You know, a kind of retirement but Alzheimer geared facility. And then you can go and be with her for several hours, even every day, but not have the responsibility of her care, which is enormous. It's enormous. You're right to be hesitant. But you're also right that participating in the dying process with a loved one is an event not to be missed. So this is what we suggest, that you find a way to have her close, but not take total responsibility yourself, because that is too much for your life in this moment. Economically, it's the cheapest way to do it, but it costs too much physically for you. And you can see that, you feel it. It doesn't feel possible to you. And that's right. But this other way, you just be open to all possibilities of how that can happen. And you can actually go to the Annassa temple. You can visualize how it can work, like what would be the best setting for her. And you think of it like that, and you will draw that to you. Because yes, this is an opportunity not to be missed. You'll learn a lot. And she will welcome you, although it may not look like it most of the time. The being inside there will welcome you. And you'll feel it energetically. And so will she. Now, there are different kinds of Alzheimer's disease that people get. And it has to do with their habits, some to do with their habits of being before they get the dementia. And so for some people, they might get very, very negative. And for other people, they might be extremely happy all the time. And so it's important that you not judge whatever presentation life has chosen for her. And also, you don't necessarily want to be there 24/7, but you do want to be close enough to really participate. So that will all come to you. Looks like your internet's having trouble again. Are you on? Are they on? Oh, we lost voice. No, can't hear you. Can't hear you.
There we are.
Oh,
Try it
good.
again.
There you are.
Oh, good.
We have this problem all the time. We're way out in the boonies.
Oh, so sorry.
Um, we are looking into a care facility in Portland, which is where she lives. It's a memory care. We're going to be looking at that. It's not possible for me to go in every day, however, if it's in Portland, because that's at least 45-minute drive to
Each
get to
way.
her each way. Yeah. So that seems a little far to be in touch with her. By the way, she is a lovely person. The worst thing that happens is she gets very depressed and wants to die. Her partner is the one who's losing it and is getting really negative, violently negative sometimes. And he lives down the hall, luckily, but still, it's not a good setting for her.
Well, there may be someplace closer.
Mhm. She needs to be near her doctor also, which is Providence in Portland.
Usually these facilities have somebody connected to the facility
Mhm.
who is quite good.
Mhm.
Unless she has a long-term relationship, which she may have with her doctor, and but that's not a make it or break it, because you need to be there with her. If you can
Mhm.
find someplace closer, that would be good.
Thank you so much. I will look into that. And I really feel calmer about my reluctance to bring her here full time.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's no reason to feel guilty about that. That's real. That's not denying or shirking your responsibility. That's very important, that you take care of everybody in your life, all the relationships, and that they have flow. And that would severely limit your participation in other areas to have her with you.
Yes, it would.
Yes. So, but you do need her closer. So what you're feeling is all true. And there is a solution in there. And so when you're with her, just love her. Totally,
I do.
totally. Yes, we see it. We see it. And we feel her. She's fantastic.
Yes, she is. She's 101,
Amazing.
and she still walks around and is a beautiful person.
Yeah. This is good. It's the best thing you could do, is to spend time with her. And so regardless of the physical constraints, you go a couple times a week if you can, and just be with her. And the thing about Alzheimer's disease is that every moment is the now moment. So
Yes.
she's always in the now.
Yep, that's true.
And when you're there with her, you can just be in the now. And
Yes.
so any kerfuffle that you're causing yourself by the limitations that are currently present, let go of it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And there's no loss of quality of connection that you're not together every minute.
Yes.
And nothing will be lost if you're not there in the moment she passes,
Hmm.
which may be the bigger question
That
underlying.
was, yes, that was definitely there as a big question.
Yes. And that happens in its own time. And by participating in the now with her regularly, you will be part of that whether you're physically present or not. And there's a place in you that already knows that. And that's why the whole thing is so darn confusing to you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for your question. So happy to talk to you. We really appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How may we serve further? Jessica, hi.
Hi. So you know a little bit about my journey. I just got my full scholarship. I just got the next one for the STEM subjects, and I'm going to be going to the big university like next term. So that's really exciting for me. I just looked at my mail, but my dilemma now is I love to help people, and I'm very good at, certain things, but I'm very excited to find out that mathematics has just been amazing for me. I've learned so much. And my heart is split. I want to help people by just doing this degree and then doing research of some kind. But I also really, I feel this big pull to become a teacher, to teach mathematics, to undergraduate and maybe graduate. And I don't know which way to go with this. And I have to decide it pretty quickly once I get to the university, because there's very big, there's a lot you have to do that's different if I do educate mathematics and want to teach versus applied mathematics and just do that. So I'm wondering if I could get some help on that direction.
So what level are you thinking of teaching?
Right now, I would really love to teach undergraduate students. And, that would be really fulfilling for me, and really specifically because of my own journey, because I've had a lot of blocks that I've really overcome, and I know how wonderful that can feel. And I know that, like, because I've had good teachers in this experience this time, that has been completely instrumental in me unblocking everything for myself.
So our experience of academia is that as you progress in the various levels toward doing research, that you will be hired by universities as part of a master's program, for example, to teach undergraduates as part of your progression. So we would not encourage you to limit your intellectual pursuit of any area of higher mathematics that is pulling you in terms of passion. Because it's important that you follow the passion that has been ignited as far as it leads you. And as a super academician, which you will become, you'll automatically be on a PhD track fairly quickly. That lends itself to teaching. That's how people teach in academia, is they get PhDs and then everybody wants them for whatever. And you can do research and teaching at the same time if you want. So we encourage you not to limit yourself at this particular moment to some idea of teaching when your real passion is the mathematics. Follow the mathematics and the teaching will happen naturally, but at a level where your passion can really completely be engaged, because you have been, there's a certain magnetism that has been ignited in you that should not be ignored. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, very
So-
much.
So you follow that passion and teaching will happen automatically. You don't have to learn to be a teacher in that way. That's you already know that. You know, you have these humanitarian skills. Doesn't matter how you got them, but you have them. And you will use them. You'll use every part of yourself, but it's important that you follow the passion, and then the students will just appear when it's time. Does that make sense to you?
Completely makes sense. Thank you.
Feels right, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Energy going up.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the question. How may we serve further?
I think there was someone else who self-unmuted before, and I don't.
Oh, it was
recall.
Drew.
Drew, okay.
Of course, we provoked it. Hi there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Things are going well. You know, I'm packing to move, so life is in flux and in flow and in movement. So
Oh, good.
that's where I'm at.
What's your date?
It's going to be gradual. I don't actually have a day of moving yet. It'll probably be the last Wednesday and Thursday of the month.
Oh,
So I think
you're,
it's the 28th and 29th, I believe.
so it's hot on your heels.
Yep. Yep.
Good. So happy for you.
Great. And I guess I've just been working. It's funny, last night I kind of had trouble getting to sleep. And that idea of upgrades that feel like downgrades was on my mind. So was just working with that, just to see what I intellectually can hear those words, and just wanted to evidently work with them. And after about 15 minutes, I found that I was asleep. So
How interesting, isn't it?
nothing real troubling.
Yeah.
Just curiosity, and then sleep overtook me. So I think all's pretty well.
Okay. So we'll speak for a minute about upgrades that look like downgrades, since we just went through one of them. There was a weakening of the system that we felt because there was some confusion that came in, kind of emotional confusion. And so we felt the virus before it actually took hold. We felt it take hold because of the emotional state. And as it took hold, it was about releasing, just purging all this. When you do inner work for a certain period of time, there's a lot of matrix of belief that kind of falls out. And sometimes the residue of it persists. And then when there's a health event, and it was relatively mild, it can provide the impetus as the immune system gets stirred up and starts purging the illness. It can also purge a lot of these emotional residues that haven't left yet. And part of that can happen because the illness makes you participate less in life. And so there's a quiet that can come over when you accept that and just allow all the sort of buildup of, we don't even know what to call it except residue. Any residue that's left of patterns that have dissipated, all that can go. And then there's a lightness after that will persist. So it can be part of an expansion. That's what we're saying, is that it's an upgrade that looks like a downgrade. And so there's a temporary illness and then a blossoming after that. So we're in the blossoming phase and sharing it with you. And the reason we talk about it is not because we want to show how different we are from you. It's the opposite. It's because we want you to begin to see your own life in this context, that the things that you go through that feel like trials and tribulations are actually downgrades, upgrades that look like downgrades. You know, that when things are not going well, that's usually a karmic challenge to expand your matrix of belief to contain a new understanding, because it's usually the old understanding that's being applied to a new circumstance that is creating the challenge. For example, you run into a person who's emotionally challenging beyond belief, but they're in a role in your life that you can't avoid. That is karma coming due. That is when you begin to reinterpret your reactions from a bigger perspective. You bring yourself, whenever you engage in communication with this person, you bring yourself into a witness state so that you are witnessing both your reactions and the other person's whatever, so that you can participate from a place of calm rather than the reactivity which has been your pattern to date. And this is how we rise above the challenges that present themselves, by going into witness. So we are witnessing our reactivity without engaging it. This is difficult. And the first few times it's impossible. But as you do it, and these situations won't leave until we've achieved mastery, we'll keep getting them over and over again in our lives, because that's what life does. It pushes us to mastery. And you notice that there's a rinse and repeat cycle if we don't master it. It comes back in a different form. And so life is a great teacher in this way. And it's not always linear the way we're saying it. We're saying it as though it's a linear process, but evolution is non-linear. So we're trying to reduce it to something that you can understand, but at the same time, we have to say, this is a non-linear process. And so we're trying to make it look linear so you can understand it. Because in that way, we can really get a grip on it. You know, we can begin to see, okay, this person says that, I shut down here, or I shut down here. You know, you can feel the places in your body where you shut down in those interactions. And that's very, very informative. But it's not always going to be linear like that. That's the caveat we want to put in there, because evolution is a nonlinear process. It doesn't go A, B, C, D, E. It goes A, 9, number sign. You know, it's not linear. And so this is why the meditation we began with is so important, because everything that exists is within us. It's all there. There is nothing separate, which means there is nothing that we need to reject. There are certain things that are inappropriate for this moment and certain things that are extremely appropriate for this moment. And we learn to sense those. We're all doing it or we wouldn't be here on this call. We are all extremely sensitive or we would not be here. This is a gift. And you have all recognized it as such. And so it has within it the energy to make the next step. How may we serve further? And we want to come back a little bit to the issue of passion, because passion in life is what we want to follow. Passion is what we're all chasing. And when you feel passion, when you begin to expand a little bit and you embrace with a yes, something quite new, then there might be passion right around the corner for something really new that engages us so magically that we couldn't even imagine the possibility of it before we tried it. It just will appear like that. And suddenly this passion will be ignited. And then the engagement is no longer an issue because it's based in passion. And passion is what we're looking for. We want to live from that passion. And understand there's always more. Every part of our evolution that happens is just happening so that more can happen. And, you know, anything that we think might be a limitation, it's a phantom. Most of the limitations are between our ears. Abundance is actually a reflection of our belief system often. If we believe that abundance is linear, it will be linear. What we earn and what we have will be the same. If we believe that abundance is nonlinear and can come from anywhere, and we cultivate that anywhere in ourselves, the abundance just happens. And most of us have had that experience in one way or another. We just haven't recognized it. Abundance is a nonlinear phenomenon. Life itself is nonlinear. The reason we're linear in third dimensional reality is because our perception of time is based on the fact that our physical body is finite. Our physical body will die. And since we believe that we are our physical body, we live in fear of that death. When we understand by practicing over and over and over that the entire multiverse is within us, what is it that we lose when we die? And what is it that is still alive when we die? And in answering that question, we come into quantum reality, which is that we are more than this body. And as we learn to live from that, that doesn't die. That is eternal. That is beyond personality. And it's a good thing. Personality is a bit of a limitation. But see, when we cultivate this quantum awareness, that's cultivating our evolution. Our evolution is to understand the quantum part of ourselves, our connection to the whole, that we are the whole. The whole is within us and around us. Our awareness doesn't stop with our body, but what we call I does. What's beyond that I, we're still aware of it. And that's the truth of what we are, what's beyond the I. And we hope that you can feel that we're broadcasting that frequency. We have time for one more question. Yes, Carol. Hi. Did you raise your hand? Good. Brenda,
There.
there you go.
I just wanted to really thank you for the conversation you had with my sister Pam, because I'm the other daughter of the 101-year-old woman, and going through it with us all. So that was really helpful.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well,
So,
that puts some pieces together. Thank you.
yes.
Hmm. So happy. This is good. So delighted to see you and be with you.
It's been wonderful.
Same here.
It's a good group.
Oh, it's a beautiful group. We are so grateful. Yeah, we love it. We love being with you. Well, this seems like a good place to drop into meditation. We can do a nice long one. So let's gently bring our attention inside. And we'll let you go through the meditation. We'll just give certain hints. So come inside and breathe the golden white light of our guardians, angels, and loved ones. When that white light and you are one, then you bring the tiny evolved being of yourself emerging in your chest, the size of a thumb on a lotus. This tiny being radiating the highest evolution possible for a human being. And we allow that to expand till we are that, our highest evolved being possible. And then we allow that to expand until we are encompassing the multiverse. And this is our meditation. And from inside that perspective, we can say, I am that. As we feel all of it contained within us. Until there's no longer a container, there is just vastness, vast space. Thank you so much for coming today. We don't have time, so we don't know ever what time it is. So happy to be with you. Thank you so much. So much love. Mm.
Thank you.